In 2014, a historian called Elizabeth Norton claimed that Henry VIII was incompatible with all women, romantically speaking, but especially his wives. I mean, kind of obvious if compatibility is even actually a thing. I don't think it is. There's no scientific basis for it. You're not more compatible with one person than another. You've got to work at relationships. You've got to... No, I don't think there's any scientific basis for it. Norton did say, though, that Henry VIII's most compatible wife was Anne Boleyn, the one he accused of witchcraft and beheaded. So how did she come to this idea? How did she come to her conclusions? How did she find this out? She used the website eHarmony. They used a sword to chop Anne Boleyn's head off. Did you know that? It was deemed more appropriate. I mean, eHarmony, really, you can't base a 500-year-old relationship, an opinion on a 500-year-old relationship with eHarmony. What? I mean, you might as well just use tarot cards to see how compatible they were. Queen of Pentacles. Would you say that's Anne Boleyn? So let's talk about these two. Henry VIII, Anne Boleyn. Henry VIII. Massive egoist. Narcissistic personality disorder. By the time he meets Anne Boleyn in the mid-1520s, he's desperate for a son. Desperate for a son that Catherine of Aragon, his wife, isn't giving him. He wants a son, an heir to carry on the Tudor bloodline. So he wants to get rid of Catherine of Aragon. He's looking for an excuse, a reason, a way out of this marriage. And his eye falls, after falling on her sister, on Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn not in love with Henry. Anne Boleyn in love with someone else. Anne Boleyn in love with Henry Percy. In fact, they're engaged. They're due to be married. But this marriage is forbidden. It's kicked into touch by Cardinal Wolsey, Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, and Percy's father, the Earl of Northumberland. Whether Henry had anything to do with this, I don't know. But it's clear that by 1525, 1526, Henry VIII is lusting after Anne Boleyn. He's desperate for her. He wants her. And the reason probably is because she is so different to any of the other women at court. She is, like Henry, she is a dominant personality. She is smart, she is witty, she is interested in music and cultural pursuits. She is quick-witted, and that's what kind of attracts Henry to Anne. Whether Anne was actually attracted to Henry or not, matter of some debate. Let's not forget, she refused to sleep with him until they were married. She was very... Again, she continued to be a dominating force. And with a narcissistic personality like Henry, eventually, of course, that was going to break. That was going to lead to tension, that was going to lead to clashes, and coupled with the fact that Anne, like Catherine, couldn't provide Henry with a son, well, that's going to lead to the accusations of witchcraft which Henry put against her. That's going to lead to the demonisation, the hatred, the anger. That's going to lead to Anne's execution. In the end, I think they were too similar. They were too similar to be really a good match for each other. Too similar to be able to sustain a long-term relationship. But what do the tarot cards say? I can't believe I'm flipping doing this. I can't believe I'm flipping doing this nonsense. All the leaves are golden brown and the sky is grey. Come closer, my child, come closer, and I shall read King Henry's fortune. I have here a tarot spread, a compatibility spread, and a website saying what each of them means. Do you like my fortune-telling gear, by the way, dear boy? Shall we stop this ridiculous get-up? Aha! It is I, James, poet, prince of Vannin, lord of the wicked sinful boys. First card represents what Henry is looking for in a relationship. And in this case, it's a son. So the card the universe has dealt me is justice. Meaning, cause and effect, clarity, truth. Don't think this works for what Henry wants, though. Henry does want justice. He wants what he thinks he deserves. He thinks he deserves a son. Whether you actually deserve the gender of your baby, cause and effect, there definitely is a cause and effect thing going on. Henry wants this son. He tries to divorce Catherine of Aragon. The consequence of that is the break with Rome. It's the formation of the Church of England and, well, trouble and strife and division between Catholic and Protestant, which, to some extent, continues to this day. Second card is what Anne is after. And we've got the Four of Cups. Apathy, contemplation, disconnectedness. Is Anne apathetic towards Henry? Disconnectedness, she's disconnected from Henry Percy, who goes on to marry a lady called Mary Talbot in 1525. Next card represents the differences between Henry and Anne, and we have the Seven of Wands. Perseverance. Henry definitely perseveres in getting his divorce from Catherine of Aragon. Maintaining control. I suppose, both being dominant personalities, they both would want to try and maintain control. Henry being a narcissist, especially so. So the next card represents their similarities. The Five of Cups. Loss, grief, self-pity. Well, that's where the relationship goes. It goes towards loss, towards grief. It does go towards, I suppose, self-pity, probably from Henry, thinking, why did I ever fall in love with this woman? Why did I divorce Catherine of Aragon for this woman? She didn't give me a son. Possibly. Is there grief on the part of Anne? Does she regret marrying Henry? Loss. Anne has lost basically the love of her life, Henry Percy, to another woman. The next card is their emotional compatibility. Ace of Swords. The only sword I need is the Ace of Swords. Breakthrough, clarity, sharp mind. Anne does have a sharp mind. Clarity, breakthrough. I'm not sure you can say a lot about their emotional compatibility through breakthrough clarity. So, next card is their physical compatibility. We've got the Hanged Man. Ooh. This is an interesting one because this is the one that's supposedly the one that actually means death and not the death card. Sacrifice, release, martyrdom. Given what happens with the break with Rome, there's a lot of martyrs going on. It leads to a lot of martyrdom. Anne, would you say she's martyred to Henry's desire for a son? Doesn't really fit though, does it? So the final card is their mental compatibility. Three of Cups reversed. Overindulgence, gossip, isolation. Don't think any of those really apply. No, they don't really apply, do they? Doesn't work. So, what can we say about Henry and Anne's relationship based on these 7 cards? Honestly, not a lot. All you can say is basically only a few slight, vague inferences based on their supposed meaning. They don't really match up with what we know from the history. What little we know from the history. Oh sure, it's been documented and researched to death, but most of what we know at the end of the day about their actual relationship, it's all speculation, it's all conjecture, it's all inferences. You can't really predict the past. You can't really talk about the past using random cards drawn from a deck. Although, saying that, if you were to say, pick the cards based on their meaning, not draw them at random, you could use this as maybe a teaching resource to describe Henry and Anne's relationship, to describe, how certain ideas, like you could use the Justice card to show what Henry was after. You could use it to say, yes, he wanted justice, he wanted a balance in the universe, he wanted a son. You could use it to say things like that. But drawn at random? No. It's about as useful as using the algorithm of a dating app. Says nothing.